Chapter 23. Patching Things Up. Quasi lay on his bed, throwing a ball of yarn in the air. Up, down, catch, throw again. He didn't feel like doing any flips or tricks like he was wont to do. He focused on the yarn, trying to ignore the empty walls that had been full of pictures moments before. Everything was packed. It was surprisingly easy. After all, everything basically fit in his treasure chest. He just needed to tell the captain that he wanted to leave. Although they weren't friends, the captain knew him longer than anyone else and was sure to understand. But he kept throwing the yarn up and down. He couldn't bring himself to stop. What was holding him back? There was a knock on the door. Quasi locked it so no one could use the automatic mechanism, and the cat sighed annoyedly. He rolled off the bed and tossed the yarn forcibly onto it. What was it now? Couldn't he be left alone? He pressed a button on the wall, and with a swoosh, the doors opened. "What?" he demanded sourly. But his expression deepened when he found it was the medic. The penguin's gaze was lowered, and he was wringing his flippers. Typical. "What do you want?" Quasi said curtly. "We need to talk," Peso said quietly. So he had guts after all. "Ain't that so?" Quasi crossed his arms. "I'm really sorry for not treating you well. It was wrong for me, and I'm really, really sorry." Quasi scoffed. "You're lying." I'm what?" Quasi didn't want to repeat it twice. "You say you're sorry, but you can't even look at me straight in the face." It was true. Peso hadn't looked up once during the exchange. "You still see me as a pirate." Peso stuttered. It wasn't just Quasi. Peso had this problem with others. It's just Quasi brought it out more severely than everyone else. "Why was this so hard?" "I'm trying to be better." "Yeah, but trying isn't enough," Quasi retorted. Peso's heart started to fail. This was going down fast. Quasi reached for the button that would close the door. "What happened to your room?" Peso's voice was soft. Quasi's paw paused centimeters above the button. Peso's eyes were wide again. But this time, it was different. Quasi wasn't sure why. "I'm leaving," Quasi said simply. It was just 2 words, but it hit Peso again, right through the core. But this time, it left a heavy feeling in his gut. Before he or Quasi knew what he was doing, Peso waddled into the room and looked around. The bedroom was bare, as empty and void of life as it was when they had first moved in. The only signs that someone was there was a chest and a ball of yarn, but the bareness made the room larger than it already was. Peso had no words. This cat was leaving because of what he did. The breath seemed to leave him. Quasi looked at the medic's expression with skeptical eyes at first, but his expression slowly became one of confusion. Peso's face changed as well, from shock to concentration, then, finally, to suppressed grief. "It's all my fault," Peso breathed. Peso's gaze wandered until it reached the cat's. Quasi looked away, his guard up again. Great, he's about to fake apologize again. But Peso went off on a completely different tangent. "But what about the others?" Peso asked. "Shellington, Inkling, they'll be upset if you left." "Shows how much you know," Quasi retorted. "No, I don't know." Quasi whirled his head towards him. Peso had a look of concern, of pure concern. Like all of a sudden, a flip had been switched, and Peso turned into that caring doctor and friend that all the patients knew and loved. Quasi almost wanted to shy away from it. "But I'd like to learn." Quasi was torn. Who did Peso think he was? Insulting him and isolating him, then all of a sudden getting into his privacy? Peso had no right, after what he did. Yet, that concern, the feeling that someone was finally giving him the time of day. He never realized how much he craved it. It was actually frightening. Quasi must not have responded quickly enough, because guilt started to crawl over Peso's features. "Or you could talk to someone else," Peso said, for some reason defeated. "I know the captain is fond of you, even though you may not think that. But you should talk to someone, anyone. Again, I'm really sorry, and I absolutely mean it." Quasi still didn't know what to say, dumbfounded and filled with several emotions he couldn't name. Peso headed towards the door. "Whether you stay here or not, I hope you're happy." "Wait!" Peso stopped and turned towards him. Quasi's paw was outstretched. Huh. A remote part of his mind thought, was that really my voice? Am I really that desperate voice? Peso smiled reassuringly. "I have all day." Quasi's troubles started pouring out of his mouth before he even knew what was happening. Line break. Something was different. The captain had wanted to bring Peso and Quasi into a meeting and bring up their rift. He thought he may have to talk to them individually, try to figure out their issues, and make a compromise or solution. But when he went down a hallway the next day, Peso and Quasi walked past him. They were together, talking to each other, and, to his surprise, laughing. True, as Captain Barnacles observed them over the next week, they weren't best friends or anything. There were still awkward moments, and they did not spend a lot of time together. But the rift was patched up, and he could see that they were on good terms. He wasn't sure what happened, but he couldn't be more grateful.